With spring training coming to an end, will Matt Olson stay this hot this season, or will he flop? We'll discuss that and more in today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Sorry, guys, you caught me dancing. Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source for your fantasy baseball knowledge. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. Dom isn't able to make it today due to some issues at home, so Dom will probably be back tomorrow, God willing. But so you're stuck with me and Matt Arne, your host. You can find us on all social media platforms, podcasting apps, and YouTube. Just search for Locked On Fantasy Baseball, and we'll be there. Please leave a 5-star rating on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you may listen. Also, please be sure to like and subscribe and comment on YouTube as well, because we love talking talking baseball on there with you. So please do that. And if you guys haven't been, here with us from the beginning, you're new, or, you're here with us and you're scared to share, your number one baseball source for all this information for the season. We're asking that if you can share that and, tell your friends and, spread the wealth, because, it keeps us going and it really helps support the show and Dom and I. So we'd really appreciate that if you can just, tell a couple of friends. It'd really go a long way for us. So thank you so much for listening. So let's thank you for that. This episode is brought to you by Ultimate GM app, Ultimate Baseball GM. Download Ultimate Baseball GM app today and experience what it's like to be a MLB GM. Use the promo code Locked On when you download the app for 100% budget bonus. So definitely take advantage of that. All right. So guys, since it's all me and I get to pick all the players, I get to write the show for once, we're going to talk about all the guys I like that's been performing great this season. And we're not going to bury the lead here with Matt Olson. Matt Olson is one of those guys that kind of had a disappointing 2022. He was on the new team coming over from Oakland since they didn't want to pay Freddie Freeman, and kind of had a down year, which, is understandable. If you guys have been here for a while, my rule, right? New team, there's usually a down year for that player, their first year on that team, right? And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened with Matt Olson. And in that season, he had 616 at-bats. He had 86 runs. 44 doubles was actually a really nice stat. 34 home runs. So he did finish up the end of the season pretty nicely. And 103 ribbies. And the number that really stuck out to us that was really low was the batting average of 240. He's more like a 270, 265 hitter, which is something that we've grown to expect from Olson. I think he is a solid bat, and this year he shouldn't murder us. And also, too, if we remember, too, he had a very slow start and then really started to pick it up. So I think Matt Olson is going to have a great season on that stacked Atlanta Braves team, and I think he's really going to have a nice bounce back. And he's really shown it this spring, because his spring numbers are actually really great. In 46 plate appearances, 39 at-bats, he had 11 runs, 18 hits, which is a great number, 2 doubles, 7 home runs, which is the most in all of spring training, 16 ribbies, 7 walks to 10 strikeouts, and he's batting 462, and his OPS is 1595. The only reason I highlight number like an OPS is because it has to be outrageous, and that's an outrageous OPS for Matt Olson. And I think that, he's really bound for a great season. I think that this is going to continue. This is going to stick, and we're really in for a really nice year with Matt Olson. It's kind of crazy. I'm drafting him everywhere this year, and hopefully he doesn't elude you in your drafts. Let's move on to another guy here. Same team, funny enough. It's actually, guys, I hate to break it to you. This may be a very Atlanta Braves episode, because we're going to talk about Mr. Ozzie Albies. Ozzie Albies is was a victim of getting hurt last year. I forget the injury, but it did take him out for almost the whole season. And then when he was about to come back, he got hurt again and then had to come back. So it was fighting up, and it happened to show off our friend Von Grissom, but then he got sent down. But let's talk about Ozzie Albies. In the time that he did play last year, he had 247 at-bats. He had 36 runs. He had 8 home runs. He had 35 ribbies. He had 3 stolen bases, and he batted 247, which isn't great. But again, it was going in and out of the season, dealing with being hurt and then trying to get back in the groove of things. So I really don't hold this season against him. Ozzie Albies has really been someone that has been healthy outside of last year and 2020, which that was COVID year, and I always put 2020 out of sight, out of mind. It really is just last year where he didn't have a healthy season. He may miss a little stint or so, but he never really does have that full injury-prone season like he did this year. So in 2021, this is where I really think he's going to bounce back. He had a 629 at-bats, 103 runs, 40 doubles, 7 triples, 30 home runs, 106 ribbies, 20 stolen bases, and 259. And the reason why we're talking about him, not just because of, I think he's going to be a bounce-back candidate, because I think we already covered that in an episode. And I just want to give you a deep dive and why he's important, why we're talking about him today, is because his spring is highlighting that, hey, I think Ozzie Albies is back, and I think he's going to kill it this season, right? So in 46 at-bats, he had 8 runs, 14 hits, a triple, 4 home runs, 13 ribbies, 5 walks, 9 strikeouts, which is a little high, but it is what it is, and a 304 batting average. Now, his OPS is almost a solid 1. It's a .986. Really solid numbers for Mr. Ozzie Albies. I think that Albies is prime for a great season, as long as he can stay healthy and as long as that ankle ain't hurting him. I mean, whatever injury, I apologize. Maybe I think it was his ankle now that it's coming back to me. But I just think that Ozzie is going to do his thing this year. So, if you drafted him, great. If you haven't drafted yet, your Christmas is still coming, and definitely draft Ozzie Albies. He's my number 1 going into this season. Somebody that if wasn't happy about getting him in your draft, I would definitely trade for. But let's move on here. Let's talk about an exciting prospect here, and that's Mr. Oscar Colas. Oscar Colas is probably a prospect darling coming in because the guy has played in Japan. He's played in finally the minors and other leagues, and he's been crushing it. And his spring is no different. This year in spring, he has 60 at-bats, 7 runs, 16 hits, 2 doubles, 3 home runs, 6 ribbies, a stolen base, caught twice, unfortunately, but it is what it is. 1 walk to 9 strikeouts, and batting .267. The reason why I'm highlighting him, and outside the fact that he's a prospect darling and everybody wants to know what's going on with him. There's been no official announcement of whether he made the team or not. Is because you look at his at-bats and you kind of gotta assume that they're really deciding whether they should call him up. I think that they do, and I think we're going to find out any moment now where, hey, it's Oscar Colas, and he's going to make the team, and he's going to play, I believe it's right field, if I'm not mistaken. Where Mr. Eloy Herrera, one of my favorite players, is playing. He's not too happy about it because he wants to play the field, but it looks like he's only going to play the field about twice a week, if that. They're trying to protect him, which makes it more of a point to bring up Colas. So I think that he's a very important person to talk about and follow what he's doing during spring training. If he's on your waiver wires, I would definitely scoop him up. If you're not sure if you should pick him up, you want to wait for the announcement, I completely understand. Just keep your eye on Colas. I think he's going to have a great season. So I'm really excited about our new partner and sponsor of today's episode, the mobile game Ultimate Baseball GM. Ever dream of becoming an MLB GM and managing your professional baseball franchise? Well, your dream has come true now. Manage every strategic aspect of your team. Play through the season and lead your team to glory. You're responsible for hiring the right coaches and staff and managing team finances, scouting and drafting players and managing different personalities, navigating your franchise through free agency and all the ups and downs of the season. Ultimate GM is a completely free app playable without Wi-Fi. Play on the go when and where you want. It's absolutely I'm absolutely hooked on this app ever since I downloaded it because I needed to get my hands on it and try out this app since I'm nerdy and I love playing this game. Not that you're a nerd to play this, but it's such a cool game, right? So tell your friends and start playing with them because you can start your own league and whoop their butts like I'm trying to whoop everybody's butt in the in-house locked on competition here. So Locked On Fantasy Baseball listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in the Game Store app. So make sure you check it out. To download the game, please visit probaseballgm.com or scan the code or look it up on the app stores. That's probaseballgm.com. Ultimate Baseball GM. Start your dynasty today. All right, guys. So let's move on here. Now that I've, kind of sort of made it through that ad read and talk about our boy, Tristan Casas. Now, I know this is going to be a very positive, very, pro guys. I don't really have too much negative to say about a lot of people this spring, especially the names that I really like talking about. And it's Tristan Casas, first baseman prospect for the Boston Red Sox. Casas has just had an outrageous spring. In 55 plate appearances and 50 at-bats, he had 11 runs. He's had 18 hits, 5 doubles, 3 home runs, 9 ribbies, 4 walks to 13 strikeouts, which is to be expected first year, really up, and getting his real taste at this, and 360 batting average, which is phenomenal. I'm loving this kid. I think that, he's a really, really strong candidate to make a run at this Rookie of the Year. I don't know if anybody's really heard about. I don't know who has or who hasn't. If this is the first time hearing about Casas, let me tell you a little bit about him, right? So in 2022, my guy had a really good season in a limited at-bats. So at 278 at-bats, he had 48 runs. He had 23 doubles, a triple, 12 home runs, 41 ribbies, 49 walks, 70 strikeouts, and batted .281. Those numbers are really great. It looks like it's starting to translate in the spring here. And I think that Casas can really make an impact on teams. He's pretty much free 99. Again, if you haven't drafted yet. So I drafted him in a couple of my leagues where I got him with one of my last 2 picks, and I'm pretty excited to have him. He's first base. First base isn't that deep in talent that I trust. Some may disagree with me. That's just my feelings on the matter. I think that Casas can be a nice bump. And he could end up being your everyday UT or that replacement if you did miss out on the top end talent of the first base position. So definitely check out Tristan Casas. He's definitely somebody that I have been targeting. And if I didn't have room for him, I definitely have him on my watch list to see what he's going to do. So keep your eye on Tristan Casas. All right, let's talk about another guy that I really love. He honestly really should be Mr. Studio Girl original, because my guy steals everything under the sun, and that's Esteury Ruiz. And I'm sorry if I butchered that name, but I can't help it. I just, can't read some of these names. But yeah, I know I said it right. Esteury Ruiz. Okay. Reading the phonetic reading. All right. Sorry, guys, you're stuck with me today. Last year, everybody kind of wrote off his story and was like, hey, man, you really had a terrible outing. And the Padres bought him up, I think, just more for a show. And I think they really screwed him. He only got 35 at-bats. He only had 6 hits, which is kind of upsetting, with a 171 batting average, got 3 runs, 2 ribs, and a stolen base. But, I don't think that's where his story starts and ends. I don't think it's quick, and I don't think that he's going to go away. I think he is somebody that everybody's sleeping on this year, and that really just is counting him out. And, hey, if you do, that is what it is. But nobody's really drafting him either. If you know about him, you like him, you have my feelings, you probably did. Some of the industry guys probably are too. But Ruiz is somebody definitely at least put on your watch list or something of this sort, because he can have a real breakout season in spring. He really is showing it off. I'm really liking his numbers right now. 43 at-bats, 9 runs, 14 hits, three doubles, a home run, 14 ribs, 6 stolen bases just for fun because he's awesome. Five walks and 4 strikeouts, batting .326. He's already trying to improve on what that small, um, you know, how do I put this? Forgettable outing where I think again he got messed with because in 2022, before he got called up, before the Padres really messed with him, he was having a great AAA and AA season. In 437 at bats, he had 114 runs. Let me repeat that. In 437 at bats, he had 114 runs. He had 33 doubles, 2 triples, 16 home runs. He's not really a power guy. I think personally, he may be like a 2022 home run guy, which is going to be great. 65 ribbies, which is to be expected with a big steals guy. And here's the number that's really impressive is the 85 stolen base number. Okay. He can steal bases, Mr. Steal Your Girl himself, Ruiz. I think that you need to at least put him on your watch list and consider adding him. And if you missed out on stolen bases in the draft and he's sitting on your waivers, or if you're still haven't drafted and you did miss out, scoop him up at the end of your draft. He also in the minors batted .332 that year. So I think that the batting average comes up. I think he is a great value for where we're going to see him. I think that I really just think he might pop this year and be valuable, at least in stolen bases. If you play in a rotisserie league and you know you just want to, you missed out, but you still have a chance of winning the category if Oakland lets Ruiz just do whatever he wants. And I think they will because they have nobody there to do anything and keep people in the stands besides him. So let's just let Ruiz roll and run. And I think that that's what's going to happen this season. So keep an eye out on Ruiz. All right. Now, let's talk about somebody else here. We did talk about him on our pitching episode, and that's Mr. Dustin May. I want to highlight him again because his spring is absolutely phenomenal, and I think he's going to have a great season. All right. This season so far in 18 innings pitched, he has 20 strikeouts. He has a 2.95 ERA, and he has a 1.145 whip right now on the season. Dustin May has so much upside. I think that Dustin is going to have a great season. And the reason why I'm highlighting him is I think you should draft him if you didn't draft him. I think if you're struggling with pitchers or you think that you might need somebody to round out your rotation, maybe he's a trade target for you now that your draft is over. If you haven't drafted, definitely try and target him. He's definitely not sitting out on your waivers. If he is, scoop him up without even blinking. Not Ruiz. Dustin May is your guy this season. I love him. I think he's going to have a great season. Let's roll out with Dustin May. He's having a great, great spring. All right, guys. If you're like me and you have a full-time job and you go to the gym sometimes and you need a quick snack and that isn't high in calories but tastes great, if so, you got to try Built Bar. I'm not sure how Built Bar does it, but these bars taste delicious while maintaining amazing macros. What's even better is that they're healthy for you. Built Bar only has 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of carbs. Not carbs, that'd be bad. Protein. Then they come in unbelievable flavors like cookies and cream, double chocolate, and coconut puff. Those flavors sound awesome. I'm more of a cookies and cream guy, while Dom's a churro guy. So I've already tried the cookies and cream. I think it's absolutely delicious. It's great. Definitely get your hands on it. So for years we've been talking about where can we find these Built Bars? Where can I get them? I got to order them online. Now you don't. You don't have to go to builtbar.com anymore. Now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. So go get them today and try them out. I think you're really going to like them. So Built Bar is the way to go. All right, guys, let's round out this episode. And thanks for tuning in, and thanks for bearing with me as your host so far. I hope I've done justice to Dom. Really, I'm missing him and my partner in crime. Let's talk about Mr. Nick Lodolo. And you guys all know how I feel about Lodolo, and I think that he is great. He's having a phenomenal spring. I'm not going to waste too much time breaking him down since we did, I think, already once last week. So I just want to really highlight the guy and show you off what we said on the pitching episode and or my guys episode or whatever episode we had him on this week. why I really am in love with him is in 14 innings this spring, he has 19 strikeouts. Okay, there's that K per nine. He has a 1.93 ERA. Phenomenal. And then his whip is a 1.143, which is consistent with last year's numbers because last year his whip was a 1.248. He brought it right down. I think that Lodolo is prime to have a great season this year and break out. So Lodolo may not be known by all fantasy players. So if you did draft, maybe you can scoop him up because, hey, they're not completely aware, or maybe they're not so happy about him with being on the Reds and in the Great American Ballpark where the ball does tend to fly. So maybe you can talk him down to it and, try and make a trade and see if you can package two like okay pitchers to try and scoop up Lodolo and, give him the whole spiel. You really feel comfortable with him pitching in Reds Park? Do you really want to risk that? He could lose games. You're not going to win many games. See if you can really put on the works and, crooked glasses, how you doing? And really just like see if you can twist their arm and get them to give them up for cheap, or at least get them up in a fair trade. And see if you can get Lodolo. I think he's going to be very good this year. And his spring is showing that. He may take that step forward. And if he does, it's going to be a good year. All right. Now, this is a little bit more on the more fantasy relevant for the season now, outside of just reviewing. Right? This is important people coming up. These are guys that we weren't sure over the weekend if they were going to have a starting rotation. Okay, starting rotation slot. All right, these next three guys. So we're going to start off with Ryan Pepiot, Pepito, or Pepito. I'm just going to read it phonetically. I apologize, guys. So Ryan Pio. All right. Well, I was really butchering that. I apologize. So last year he did get a little shot in the bigs. He had 36 innings pitched. He had 42 strikeouts. He had a 3.47 ERA with a 1.45 whip, which, I mean, that's high. The whip is definitely high, but he's a guy that just likes to strike people out, and he's having a really good spring. In 13 innings, he has 19 strikeouts, which is phenomenal. A 3.29 ERA, which is on par, and the whip is still kind of high, but he's either free or sitting on your waivers right now. And I think that he's definitely worth an add because it was just announced that he's got the 5th starting rotation spot for the Dodgers. I mean, that is amazing. I mean, you're going to get the 5th rotational spot on the Dodgers for free. How can you pass that up? The kid's got talent. If you don't know who he is, let me just read you off his minor league stats here because I think you're going to be impressed. And I think you're going to be like, ooh, this guy is good. Let me go get him. Let me see if he's available. And he probably will be. I'll tell you actually what his ownership is in a minute. But right now, last year, he had 91 innings pitched. He had 114 strikeouts, which is great. He had a 2.56 ERA with a 1.073 whip. So it looks like he just came up, was like, oh, let me strike out everybody. Let me show everybody who's the boss and who I am, and let me get that start. And this is the best part, guys. I have it right in front of me, right? He's 7% owned. Okay. Guys that went down literally yesterday and today, right? Severino is probably going to miss his first 2 weeks. Kyle Wright is going to miss his first 2 weeks. I have both of those guys on my team. This is one of the guys I'm considering to take his place on the rotation for those 2 weeks. And he might end up staying on my rotation. I might end up dropping somebody else that doesn't perform. And he's 7% owned. Scoop him up and see what he does. What's the worst that happens? He's definitely somebody you want to target now that his injuries are in. So check him out. That's Ryan Pio. Ryan Pio, T silent. At least I figured that out at the end. All right, let's talk about this other one. There's 2 guys from the same team, and it looks like both might have a rotation spot. They've been sitting there for a while. I hope that they do. Let's talk about the one I really like first, and then we'll talk about the other guy after. This is going to be Atlanta Braves pitchers. It's going to be Jared Shuster, I believe is how we say it. I'm going to check the phonetics. And funny enough, they don't have it for me. So we're going to go with Jared Shuster. I believe that's right. Okay. Jared is having a really good spring. I really like it. He's really, really competing for this slot. In 18 innings pitched, he has 18 strikeouts, K per 9. Solid. Check. He has a 1.45 ERA. Check. A .58 whip. Check. I want that. That's what I want to see out of a young pitcher pitching against this talent for the first time. This is his first shot at big league talent, at the big league bats. He had what last year? How many innings pitched in AAA? He had 48 innings pitched in AAA last year, and he had a very high ERA. It looks like he had took a little time to adjust with a 4.25 ERA. In AA last year, he had a 2.78. But now for him being up in spring training and really showing that, hey, I can hang with the bigs and I can get this rotation spot. I think that he's somebody definitely worth an ad. He is just great. I'm truly loving him at 6'3", 210 pounds at age 24. I mean, that's prototypical power. That's prototypical, something I like to, at least my prototype for, what do you call it? For a pitcher, is a tall guy weighing about 200 pounds. I love that. That means they're going to throw gas. That means they're going to be a very fun pitcher to watch. And guess what, guys? He's only 17% owned. That's after the biggest draft weekend. And after the weekend before that, when drafts started happening. So he's sitting out there on your waiver wires right now. Definitely consider him, especially with Kyle Wright going down. You're going to have to replace him. And this might be literally his direct replacement. And either one of two things are going to happen. Either he ends up keeping that rotation spot and Kyle Wright comes back, or he goes down and then he makes the decision for you, drop him, and you wait for him to be called back up again. But at least for me, at least put him on your watch list and see what happens. Because I think you're going to thank me for it later. All right. Now let's talk about the other guy on the same team that's fighting for it. That I think is also probably has it. I forget if there's one other person in the running right now for a rotation spot. That's Dylan Dodd. Dodd and Shuster, I believe, have this shot because not only did Wright go down, but also Soroka's not ready yet. Soroka is going to be kept down in the minors for at least 2 to 3 weeks because he's coming off that, I believe it's a calf injury or something of the sort where he needs to warm up and get loose. So he's not ready to start yet. And Dylan has been having a great spring as well. Mr. Dodd is putting on a show. In 18 innings, he has 20 strikeouts. He has a 2 ERA and a 105 whip. Check. That's what you want. That's what you need out of a pitcher you're going to pick up off the waivers, and somebody that's going to replace and slot in for Kyle Wright. So I really like him. I think that he is going to be good this year. Let me just read you off what he did last year as well. Because he's another guy that did not get to face big league pitching and is showing off his stuff and fighting for it. So again, this is something I want to see, right? So in AAA, he only got like literally a start, maybe because he has 6 innings pitched, and it looks like he got hit up, but it was the end of the season, so they said whatever. But in AA, because he had 3 promotions last year from A+ to AA to AAA, he had 46 innings in AA with a 3.5 ERA. And really earned it. And A+, which I don't understand why they did it, why they bumped him. Maybe he had a really bad start, but 89 innings, but he had oh, wow, I'm reading the wrong stats. Sorry, I apologize, guys. Let me start again. In AAA, he had a 4.05 ERA. In AA, he had a 3.5 ERA. And, oh, no, I'm reading the right ones. I apologize. No, I'm not. And then in A+, he had a 3.44 ERA. So I think that he got 3 promotions. They saw something special in this kid, and he really showed his stuff. And he has a K per 9 at least, because when in A+, where he had 89 innings, he had 91 strikeouts. In AA, he had 46 innings, and he had 55 strikeouts. And then that one start, even though he got lit up for a 4.05, he had 7 strikeouts out of 6 innings. So he definitely has some potential. He's showing his stuff, and I think that Dylan Dodd is going to be good, at least in the short term. Excuse me one second. Oh, sorry about that. I think that Dodd is going to be an ad. I think check him out. And Dodd, let me check out his ownership before we get out of here, right? Might as well, since I gave you everybody else. Dodd is 5% owned, okay? You need to at least let him go over there, peep him, do your own research. Don't just listen to me and you'll see what I'm talking about. I think these two guys are going to be great replacements for the two guys that just went down. And they're on great teams. Atlanta is a world of opportunity. So check out Dodd, check out Shuster, and I hope you enjoyed the Matt Only podcast today. All right. Hopefully we don't have to ever deal with just me. And hopefully I kept you guys around long enough to get to this part. So that's all for me today. Subscribe, comment, rate, review. And thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen every day. And you should make your second listen Locked On Reds with the host, Jeff Carr. He is one of the most knowledgeable and entertaining hosts around on Locked On. Around. I really do enjoy listening to him. He's a great dude, and he really has an eye and great insight into the Reds organization. So if you're a Reds fan, or if you have questions on players that are on the Reds team, he probably is answering those questions and giving a little bit deeper dive than I can, since I have to focus on so many players. He just has that one team to focus on, so he can really give you that insight on what's going on in the team and with specific players on the Reds. So check him out. So thank you again for being here. Our new episode tomorrow is going to be who to target and put on your watch list for this year. And let's see what they do and talk about guys that possibly can have a nice waiver wire bump for your team and help you win each and every week. All right, guys. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much. And until tomorrow, peace.